come out, we knew. We didn't even expressly say it. We knew this is it.
50 fucking years, I was
Fuck.
I was like, Davey's a romantic.
Man, thank you. Kind of you. Fuck, man.
Of them, was it harder to pick the songs to go on the album than it was to actually write them?
Yes. Absolutely. That's genuine. That's generally the case for me.
Happy belated birthday.
Oh, Alejandro. Gracias, amigo. Viejo. Soy el viejo.
Not that old. Come on.
Well, I guess in relation to death, well, who knows? I mean, kind of that old.
I actually read your Substack letter, which was, as always, inspiring. And I must say, I'm not sure if the word is the right one, but in that one that says, 50 fucking years, I was
Fuck.
I was like, Davey's a romantic.
Man, thank you. Kind of you. Fuck, man. It's wild. It's wild. I just, it's a difficult thing for me to really understand that I've been around 50 years. There's a huge part of my consciousness that really feels like the exact same person that, started playing hardcore shows when he was 15 years old.
I know. And, it was so touching, that the very first paragraph, I would love for you to let me read a little bit of that.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Yeah, I'm touched. You'll remind me of what I wrote.
Yeah, because it was like, I can only vividly recall a few of my birthdays, and I can see a tiger cake from a time when candy was a commodity and the Muppets were on prime time. Back in Rochester, my mother made it from scratch. The stained and unbleached recipe book dictated orange coconut. Following a 60s illustration, she'd pour white shreds from a plastic bag into a stainless steel bowl and douse the pile with food coloring. The shreds would form stripes over a whipped cream frosting. Northeastern fall frosted the windows as she prepped. Heat kicking from the old oven warmed the kitchen. A salivating child in a red onesie, I gently swayed to the songs of Miss Diana Ross, watching in awe of my mother's alchemy as the scent of cake wafted through her own dance. Oh, come on, man. This is just...
Well, thank you. That was just the intro. That was just the bed trying to explain that, I don't remember many of my birthdays, but that's my earliest memories of birthdays. And as far as the listeners goes, just I then talk about music events that really were the anchor point of most of my birthday memories. The birthdays that I do remember were anchored by music experience. I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you have something else to say about that?
I didn't. I actually just wanted to read you that little bit of the letter because I found it so touching, and so many of us can relate to that memory that you can almost smell. About your mom baking a cake. And it's so interesting because then it moves on to everything else that you've done, and all the memories and all the stuff which is always in your letters, in your Substack, and I found it profoundly touching, for real.
Gosh, thank you so much. It really means a lot to me that you have read it, and I appreciate that. I really enjoy writing it, and nearly every time I'm writing the Substack, I think, is anyone going to care about this? Like, how could? Because I enjoy writing it so much, and it's so much a part of me, and it's an opportunity for me to document these memories that I just don't want to lose. And a lot of them I do lose. They do fall by the wayside, and there are just certain moments that cue them and bring them back to me. And that forum allows me to frame them in a way and make them permanent in a way that I just wouldn't if I did not have that forum to encourage me to do it, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, if it weren't there, I wouldn't be writing it for myself. If you, Alejandro, weren't reading it and enjoying it in some way, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't just journal, which it almost is.
Yeah, definitely. And that brings us to the new album, Silver Bleeds the Black Sun, which I also found very contrasting in terms of your writing, because you're a magnificent writer, but also when it comes to the music. And I just saw you perform it at Corona Capital in Mexico City. I hadn't seen you guys perform in 11 years since you first came to Bogota in Colombia, South America. And it amazed me to see how you guys are able to be a completely different band from the one I saw 11 years ago. And I really wanted to ask you how you felt in Mexico City and how Silver Bleeds the Black Sun responded to these ideas you had when you guys were creating it.
Mexico City is phenomenal, and every time we play there, which is never enough, it is the audience is so passionate, and that was the case this last time around. We had the opportunity to come down after having released this new record, and thereby we were able to play those songs for people who had never heard them before, and the reaction was wonderful. And it's just such a gratifying experience always, especially again in context of this new record, which means so much to me, and to be able to see that reaction there makes it mean even more.
How has the album itself reacted? How has it lived up to the expectations you had when you first started creating it? I understand that there were a lot of different things that you guys did in terms of communication, conversating this album, something you had not done before, but you also have this live perspective in mind every time you sit down and work on something. So I wanted to know, has it lived up to your expectations?
Yeah, it exceeded my artistic expectations, which were very high and hopeful. So that is the most important to me, that we were able to achieve what I'd hope we would achieve, but then it was even better than I'd hoped it. Well, when I say better, I mean that the initial plan, we had a vision, and we moved from that vision to an adjacent, very natural, slightly unexpected path, and that was even more exciting than what we had planned on, and still worked in the context of what we had planned on, if you will. And then after that, having created something that to me is so important and I love so much, to then go out and play the songs live and have them get the reaction that I would hope they would get, it was even further gratifying. Even when we played the songs for the first time as a band together in the rehearsal context, it was clear that they had the live power that I expected they would. But that was also a moment of, okay, what's this? Because certain songs, when you write them, have a different vibe than when you play them. And these songs have an even greater feel to them live, I feel, which I didn't expect. It's just kind of a magical experience, the whole thing.
As you start working on the album and taking on a new course, a new direction, and it starts veering away from it, how do you deal with that surprise factor? Like, you mentioned that the album takes a different path, and I would like you to elaborate a little bit on what you guys do when that happens.
We let it because the plan was to create an album within a certain mood, and the certain mood had certain references that we were talking about from the very beginning, which was created a dreamy pornography, heaven up here, script on the bridge kind of work. And we began writing, and Behind the Clock happened. And when in that early writing session, I feel it was in the, like, maybe day 2. It was in the first week. We wrote Behind the Clock. Jade was playing that bass line, and I sang Behind the Clock over it. I had the lyric for the first verse and the chorus, and that's how I sang it. And we recorded it. And the vocal that you hear on the record, I'm near certain, and Jade could confirm this, is the vocal that I sang. The first take, first
Wow.
vocal.
Crazy.
And when we heard that song come out, we knew. We didn't even expressly say it. We knew this is it. This is where we're going. We're going here, and that was the springboard to the rest of the record, which then did veer in and out of that world, but that sent us on the path to Silver Bleeds the Black Sun, which never did go into disintegration or or pornography,
right.
areas that really at all. I to use The Cure or Echo and the Bunnymen references, I don't know that you hear any of that.
You don't.
You definitely hear a lot more of that in our previous records, which then makes this part of the reason this is more exciting to me, and more inspiring to me artistically, is that, yeah, we have touched on that in the past. And rather than taking one of those moments of AFI's past and expanding on it, this is none of this we've really touched on in the exact way. I mean, you can look at it, at adjacent sounds with Death of the Party or On Your Back or Heart Stops, but it's still not what Silver Bleeds the Black Sun is exactly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you seem to have embraced all the influences through that same communication on the album, and I think you've said this. You hadn't done this before, but you've also said something that really caught my attention. You spoke to Alternative Press at the beginning, in the middle of this year, and I was very fascinated by the fact that you felt daunted by the process, and why did you feel daunted?
To be clear, it wasn't. I wasn't daunted by the process.
Okay.
I was daunted after having released Bodies, and loved Bodies. Like I was so happy with Bodies, and I had felt we'd move forward with Bodies in a way that, again, at the time, really embodied who and what AFI was and is at the moment, while moving forward artistically. And with the history of what we'd done after Bodies, which again I was so happy with, I was daunted at the prospect of doing another record, and being able to touch on music that was inspiring to us, that was fresh, that was to create something that we hadn't created before, which is necessary for us to be excited by the music. And I was daunted by the question, what is that? What haven't we done that would be honest? And that would be a part of us that we would be inspired by. Yeah. That would be exciting. And it was a question. And that was a question that had never occurred in the 3 decades of AFI existence. It's never, what are we going to do? We would just do it. And it would naturally, in the writing session, go somewhere we hadn't gone before. But I didn't know what that could be. And so I felt obliged for the sake of my heart, and for the sake of the history of the band, to talk about it before we went in, which is before we started the process, which was something that we never really do. We would just like, time to write, and we sit down and write, and it would go where it would go. But I felt that it was necessary to have a direction.
In that direction, the album starts becoming very layered, very profound, and very, very intense. And also, I would assume, given your capacity, your ability to write, very prolific as well. You know, what I found also fascinating about this one is the writing of these songs. Was it harder than the selection of them? Was it harder to pick the songs to go on the album than it was to actually write them?
Yes, absolutely. That's genuine. That's generally the case for me, because I'm the person who thinks everything we do is great. And I think Jade will agree that he's never satisfied with anything we do, or he does. Not necessarily my role, but heard him say this. I've heard him go on record saying this. So I am so much a part of what I put into the music, and it's so honest for me. It's an opportunity in a way. It's like the Substacks. Like here's what I feel, and here's what I have to express. I need this to go to be put out there, and that's every song. I have a connection. When we make these songs, I have a connection, and that's something that psychologically I've had to deal with over the course of 10 years, where our writing sessions result in far more songs than anyone will ever hear. And so in that process, I've had to work out a way for me to have different relationships with the songs after I write them, because I know no one's ever going to hear them. I know that there's a far, far greater chance that every song we write, no one will hear than it being heard. So yes, in the case of Silver Bleeds the Black Sun, that was the case where we had so many songs, and it was much, much harder to decide which would make it. But that we've also created a process internally that makes that a lot easier, where when songs start with Jade and I, in order to make it easier on me, I've said, just listen, just don't even play them for me if you don't like it. Because I'm going to like it, after we start, and then Jade does what he does with his production. If he doesn't like it, I don't want to hear it, because I will like it. and then we're already in a place where, okay, what do we do now? But yes, yeah, that was a difficult process, but less difficult than it has been, than it was on probably, than it was on Burials, and than it was on Bodies, than it was on Blood.
And regarding that, I wanted to ask you about the decision to use this tone of voice on this album.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't used this tone of voice before.
In going,
you went baritone, didn't you?
What's that?
You went baritone.
Baritone, probably technically bass at times, which is something that you don't hear in any AFI recordings, and maybe in some Black audio you hear me go near those depths, but not to the depths that you hear on Silver Bleeds the Black Sun, which, in speaking technically of notes, those particular depths were what seemed appropriate for the music, and the baritone is what I knew would be appropriate for the music that we had expressly planned on writing. And I did want to do something vocally. Actively, I wanted to do something that we also hadn't done before. And not simply with the range in which I was singing, but with the lyrics, the structure of the lyrics, the structure of the songs, the structure of the vocals. I believe, at least more so than in the past, I worked more with monotone than I have in decades. I worked more with space. I believe I worked more with repetition, both melodically and lyrically, than I usually do, or at least I tried to. There's more Sprechensong or
spoken word,
or spoken word, and all of that felt appropriate for what we were sonically creating, and appropriate for the music that was coming out of us as we were writing. And as well, as I said, was something that was an active plan on my part to not repeat myself, to try to actively try to do something that I haven't done, while working within my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
So while working within things that I really relate to, that I'm often singing just recreationally on my own, singing along songs in the car, singing in my house, and a lot of the music that has made me who I am works in those worlds, and has been a part of me since I was a kid. So it's very much a part of me. It's just something that I haven't done within the context of AFI or any other group that I've been in. Any whether you're talking Black Audio or Extremist or Dreamcar.
Yeah, everything that takes place in the album is so marvelous in terms of the artistic idea, the repetition, the space. Also, that's probably one of the things that I enjoyed the most about this album is its space, the way that it just fills the room with it. It's just amazing. It's an amazing experience, and it's a dichotomy that gives the record a depth that sounds like nothing AFI has done before. And I suppose it was hard to achieve, that dichotomy, that idea of repetition. Space.
It wasn't.
That's crazy.
Once we decided on it, it just was so natural. That's what it was. So fun. It was so fun. It just flowed. It flowed. I mean, it was a lot of work, and it was a lot of work for Jade Puget. But it wasn't. Difficult.
That's great. Well, listen, my time's running out. I wish I had more. I had a lot more questions, but I wish you well. I thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me, Davey. It's been great meeting you virtually. I wish you the best for 2026. Silver Bleeds the Black Sun. Beautiful, beautiful album. Thanks again.
Alejandro, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Take good care.
You too.
Bye.